Hey guys, this is Matthew and welcome back to Nerd News Today. And this time around we've got another G.I. Joe classified action figure to take a look at. If you saw my last video, you've heard me explain that I'm now addicted to this line. This is one of my new favorite things. I of course wish they were much easier to get a hold of, but regardless of that, they're one of my favorite lines right now. And yeah, I'm so excited today because I've got Gung Ho, the member of G.I. Joe who represents the U.S. Marine Corps. And he is a figure that I had a lot of interest in because I liked the original character design, but I was curious what they're going to do with him because I wondered how that design would age with today's modern look and modern aesthetic. And this is definitely an interesting figure from a lot of perspectives. But is it good? Well, we're going to find out. So first things first, let's talk about the packaging, and it is the traditional packaging we've seen for all the G.I. Joe Classified series so far from Hasbro. We've got a very nice window display here to see his accessories. On top, we've got what number he is in the series. He's the 7th figure in the G.I. Joe series. You'll note that the packaging is also blue because he's a Joe, and the Joes have blue, Cobra has red. On one side, we have some of the different insignias of G.I. Joe, along with different classifications of what he does. And this fist right here, man, that's just like the cheapest clip art ever. Come on, Hasbro. I've literally seen that up on Google. As soon as you type in fist clip art, it's the first thing that pops up. You can do better than that, Hasbro. The front over here has this digital painting of Gung Ho, which continues onto the side, wraps around there, and you got this nice picture of him. This was painted by James Pack, or James Pike. I'm not sure how to actually pronounce it, but it's spelled P-A-I-C-K. So however it's pronounced, well, you guys can let me know, but I think it's really great, and I do love that Hasbro is doing this, adding this artwork to it. It puts a lot of personality on the packaging. And finally on the back, once again, my only real complaint about the packaging, no file card, no bio, nothing but this very, very awesome epic poster that I wish was included in the toys or wish was available somewhere. Again, I can't get over how cool this poster is. I love this artwork here in the back. And I legitimately would put a poster of this in my house or in my studio. But I still would like a bio or some more information because now we're 7 figures in and this is what we're getting still again and again. Now, I haven't gotten any Cobra Island figures yet, so I'm assuming that the back of those are probably different. Maybe they have a map of the island or something. I wouldn't know because I haven't seen a single one out in the wild yet. I haven't been able to buy a single one. But I am optimistic that they're going to make some changes to this as the line goes on and give us something a little bit different. But man, do I love this, and that's why I'm letting you guys stare at this for long because look at how good this is. But that's enough about the packaging. Let's go ahead and bust our Gung Ho loose and take a look at this figure from all angles. And here is our Gung Ho now out of the packaging. So let's begin with what was actually really my first question about this toy when I saw this, and that's what's up with this head? Because not the likeness, but this hat in particular had me wondering, is that removable or is it sculpted onto him? Well, I've got good news, folks. For the first time in Gung Ho's history in figure form, and at least closer to scale, this hat is removable. And he's got the Marine Corps haircut. Or at the very least, he's got a Chuck Liddell mohawk, because man, does this figure look like Chuck Liddell. But yeah, he's got that military cut, and it's pretty fun from all sides there. I do like that. And I'm really pretty excited, to be honest, that you can actually take the hat off. Because yeah, I think the 3 3/4 one had the hat molded onto him. I think most others have, with the exception of maybe the 12-inch figures, which I don't know who collected those, but I didn't. And yeah, it's pretty cool that this hat comes off. But I really appreciate that attention to detail and throwing that in there as kind of a little bonus secret accessory. Now, of course, do these grenades come off? Well, no. But hey, you can't have everything, can you? So yeah, as for that likeness, I really like it. It's a very grizzled veteran kind of look. Like this is a guy that's seen some stuff. And Gung Ho, the name pretty much said what he was and what he was all about. And it really feels like a guy who's just ready to go ahead, bust in there, go nuts and get the job done. That said, I don't think it's my favorite likeness necessarily. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Duke's head sculpt. And for reference, in fact, here's Duke, so you can see what I'm talking about. There's just some kind of similarities in his face sculpt that, I don't quite know if it does it for me. Don't hate it, that is to say, but something, doesn't quite work for me entirely. But they're both really nice head sculpts. And I don't really know what I'd want different. Maybe it's just less lines in the face. Actually, as I'm looking at it, I think that's what it is for me, is the structure of his face and his cheeks, and it's kind of a similar thing with the Duke figure. There's like a lot going on in that sculpting, and it's almost like a little bit too much. Maybe I kind of do wish it was a little bit simpler, like those 3 3/4 versions of these characters. But either way, I'm pretty happy with it, and I like the expression. I like what it's adding to the character. I like the story it tells. So it's good. Might not be what I want to have as a perfect figure, but it definitely fits. So as for the body, yeah, they kept it pretty similar to what the original Gung Ho was. Difference is they've modernized it. So this time around, instead of just having an open shirt like he had originally and the camouflage pants, we've now got some kind of chest armor. We've got different color of camouflage on him as well. And of course, we've got all sorts of knickknacks across him. So because this is 2020, why not have a random shoulder guard over here? and some grenades clipped to his shoulder. He's got an elbow pad, which I find actually kind of funny. It's almost like they're saying he definitely is a little bit older and he needs that to lean on. I don't know, but I do like this little piece here. And I also like he's got his little wristband down there to go onto his gloves. He's got a bandolier, I guess it is. I don't know if you'd call that a bandolier or a holster across his thigh with more grenades, because after all, he kind of is one of the grenadiers of the Joe. He's also got those shin pads, the camouflage pants. And another question I had about this entire G.I. Joe classified line is, at what point are they going to start recycling parts? Because you kind of have to at some point. You can't just keep making the same figures look the same way. And so again, for reference here, I'm pulling out Roadblock right now. This is the Roadblock from Series 1, because I thought they'd probably be recycling his parts here. And it looks like, yes, for the most part, they actually are recycling a few of his pieces. So, yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen. Not really a detractor because the paint job is different enough. You can see, though, the pants are identical. The difference is the knee pad on this leg here. He's got this golden knee pad here. He doesn't on this. His paint job is different. But otherwise, the lower body is basically the same. And I'm pretty sure the upper body are also the same as well for these figures. Again, that's not a bad thing. That's just the nature of toys. You're going to get figures that have recycled parts. My big question was just how fast was it going to be before we started doing that? And well, here we are, still kind of in the first wave, and we got some recycling going on. But I'm not knocking any points for that. Let's take a better look at that U.S. Marine Corps tattoo on his chest as well, which looks really nice, very well printed here. And as I'm looking at this figure too now, exposing the chest, I think it's time to talk about articulation, because he's got some interesting pieces. You know, we just looked at that Roadblock who had that chest piece completely wrapped around him, that rubberized chest piece. This time here, his chest is exposed, and it looks like, all right, yeah, he actually can bend his waist a little bit. So that's nice. That's good to know. But how's the rest of the articulation? Well, let's see. The head is ball jointed, moves left to right. I'm going to take the hat off for now, in fact. The neck piece also moves a little bit too. We already saw the buck. The waist moves and also actually bends a little bit too. That's really good articulation. The shoulders are ball jointed. He's got the double jointed elbow so that he can hold his guns and shoot them. The wrists are also ball jointed and have a little thing so he can flex and bend them. He has a T-hinge crotch to give us some some very, very good flexibility there. I didn't know Gung was that flexible. We've got a thigh joint articulation, double jointed knees, boot moves, the feet move. It's really cool. And something else, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the G.I. Joe, I don't know if I mentioned it in the original classified review, but the legs all kind of have like an additional hinge so that they can pop out, and it adds a little bit more range of motion to them. So it might be a little bit hard for me to show you from this angle here, but take my word for it, it's very cool. Now, of course, we can't talk about a G.I. Joe figure without discussing its accessories. So first things first, let's go ahead and put on our G.I. Joe backpack. He's got a really nice rucksack. There we go. And what I had to do, by the way, was I had to just kind of move up his chest piece a little bit here because there is a hole in the chest piece, and that connects to the back of the figure. So you have to make sure those two things are connected and going in there. So I had to give that chest piece a little bit of a lift just for a moment to make sure I got that backpack all the way in. But yeah, it's in there and looks really nice. I really do like that detail on this type of backpack. It looks really good. And you'll see lots of little slots to put his weapons. So let's go ahead and start talking about those because he's got a lot. First things first, he has this assault-looking rifle here. I don't know what the heck it actually is. It kind of reminds me of, I think it's like that French or Belgian weapon. It's like a FAMAS, the FAMAS. I don't really know how you actually say it or not. I'm not a big gun dude. But it's similar to that shape with the magazine in the back over here. So let's see how this holds in his hand. There we go. I'm not going to put the trigger finger around it right now just because I'm going to probably swap it out for other guns in a minute. But it looks pretty nice. And speaking of other weapons, he also has this guy here, which kind of reminds me of like the PAS-12 automatic shotgun. I think that's what that reminds me of. I think that's what it is. Again, not really a gun guy, so that's just my own little idea of what it could be. Let's see how this fits, and I think this one I'm going to try and get his trigger finger around it too. There we go. That looks good. And yeah, I'm going to take this guy off for a second because I want to put this in his backpack. I want to have him try and see if we can get him to hold this shotgun with both hands. And let's see, I would imagine it goes like this maybe. Yeah, there we go. Wow, he's got his backpack. He's got his gun actually on the backpack. You can see how it clips on there. That's pretty good. It's actually looking pretty secure. All right, so let's test out this double jointed elbow real quick. So I want to see if he can actually hold it the way he should be holding a shotgun. So his other gun fell off while I was doing that. But yeah, so you can more or less get it the way it's meant to be. I don't want to force it in too much right now because yeah, that's really one of my other nitpicks about this line here is that all of their hands are molded with a trigger finger. Both hands have trigger fingers on them, so it makes it a little hard for him to actually hold the gun the way it's meant to be held. Now, I know other figures recently announced and revealed do in fact have multiple hands. We saw that with Cobra Commander, in fact. So I think they're starting to realize that, yeah, they need to include more hands in these guys because they can't really hold their guns the way they're meant to be held. So you have to use a little bit of your imagination here, but that's how he looks with the shotgun. But he does have one more weapon here, and that's this big guy. So both these weapons here are kind of throwbacks to what he originally came with. But yeah, this is his grenade launcher. He originally came with an M79 grenade launcher. This is kind of more of like a fantasy, modern, futuristic style, really, grenade launcher. But it's pretty cool looking also. I like the design of this. I do wonder how he's going to be able to hold this because he's got such small hands. So let's go ahead and find that out right now. Let's see if I can also clip this shotgun onto his back and see how that holds up. I don't really think his grenade launcher is going to hold up as easily, but I feel like the shotgun should have a little bit of an easier time getting into his backpack than the other guns would because of the way it's shaped. And yeah, looks like that went in a lot easier. That's how that looks. So let's try this grenade launcher. And yeah, for today, I'm making Gung Ho a lefty. So as I'm trying to do this, yeah, his hands are just so stiff out of the box that it's really not working. I'm sure I've seen other people do it before, so I think if anything, you just got to get a blow dryer or some hot water, heat up those hands, make them more flexible. But yeah, again, because of the shape of this and because of how the hands are all the trigger fingers, it's going to have a harder time with this because this stupid bar is in the front of the grenade launcher, and that makes it hard to be able to get his hand in this position. It, in theory, should fit, and I think it would, but I don't really want to mess with these figures that much, and you know, if it's taking me that long to get in there, I don't want to bother. I'd rather have him put the shotgun on or something else. And I want to see if this actually clips onto his back too. Oh, all right, that actually looks like it does. So, you know what, that actually looks better, I think, on his backpack anyway. So I'd rather have him hold on to the shotgun in his hands because at least that, we know, does fit into the hand. So overall, you know, there's some good points, there's some low points to this figure. It's got a really nice look to it. I appreciate what they're doing with this one. I was originally not going to necessarily get it because I didn't know how I felt about the face. Face isn't really the big problem. Ultimately, the bigger problem is actually these G.I. Joe classified hands and their obsession with giving them trigger fingers because it's both really cool and also impractical at the same time. So I'm hoping... So as I mentioned, you know, we've seen that they are starting to include a few more hands. I hope it's a trend that continues because really, these figures need swappable hands desperately. And I wouldn't mind a little bit more flexible plastic of those hands too, because you know we've seen like hands from the Mattel WWE figures that have an easier time holding stuff. These hands are just so stiff out of the box, especially to get the guns into both hands. So you have to use your imagination a little bit when you pose them for photography and whatever you're going to do with them. But I think they're still pretty nice figures. It's another pretty solid entry in this lineup, and I'm continuing to dig where they're going with these figures. I have high expectations with this G.I. Joe classified line, and while this figure might have been maybe not a step down, but not one of the better ones that we've seen so far, still pretty solid overall, and I think you have to have Gung Ho to keep the collection moving along. He's got good backpacks, good color, really great paint job because, you know, we didn't really even talk about that because it's just so clean and so perfect overall that it wasn't really noticeable to me. So is this figure a home run? Not so much, but it's a solid run to the next base. I don't know baseball, does that make sense to you guys? And while this figure might be a little bit of a down note for me, other stuff that's coming out soon is going to make me much more excited. So, you know what, if I was going to give him a rating out of 10, Gung Ho is probably more along the lines of like a 5 or a 6 for me. He's probably my least favorite of all the ones I've gotten so far. So we'll see where things go with the next figure, but I'm overall pretty happy with it. If you want to order a Gung Ho for yourself, why not use our Amazon affiliate link, which you can find in the description below. It helps our channel out and costs you nothing extra when you order from Amazon using our Nerd News Today link. So until next time, I'm Matthew, and now that you've watched our review, you know what to look for when you go to buy this figure, and knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe!